Okay. I see audio. I see video. I think we're live. Let's do this. Hello, ladies, gentlemen, friends. Welcome to another Hobby Hangout stream. It's Friday, guys. We made it to another Friday. So I'm Wes, your humble host here with Staghammer Studio, and for the next couple hours we're going to be doing a little bit of hobby work around here, and I've got some projects that hopefully you guys are vaguely familiar with as you've been with me for any amount of time. We're going to be working on some stuff today. I encourage all of you to grab whatever hobby of choice you happen to have. If there's a little project you've been working on, go ahead and grab it, sit down, and join me in the chat. Let me know what it is you're working on, and we'll get a little dialogue going. It'll be a good time. It's Friday. We made it to the end of another week. It was a real hot week up here in the Northeast. Real uncomfortable. The AC has been off down here pretty much all day. I just turned it on like maybe not even 20 minutes ago. So it's just starting to cool off a little down here. And I'm a little shinier than normal, but that's fine. No big deal. I don't know that I have a ton of news, frankly. One thing that I know I need to mention is Friday the 28th is my daughter's second birthday, and my wife and I and some of our family members have some plans for the weekend. So we are going to be away. As such, I will be doing my stream early that week. So we'll be doing like a Thursday night stream as per usual for the sort of backup stream. Of course, the video itself will be available on my YouTube channel on the usual Friday night time. So if you miss the stream, you can catch it there. The YouTube channel, if you're not familiar, is youtube.com/users/Wes Odinson, WESODINSON, and you can go subscribe and check out all my previous streams, and there you go. This is, I think, episode 18, which is kind of huge. We're getting close to number 20, which realistically, I'm like, when I started doing this, I was like, well, if we get to 5 or 10 episodes, then I guess maybe it's a success. But frankly, I'm having fun doing this every week, and hopefully you guys are enjoying as well as y'all are watching along. So let's see. Like I said, I don't have a ton of news really. I did do a little bit of hobby stuff throughout the weekend and the week. Let's see. On Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, I posted up pictures of the giant cave squig and the loon boss that is riding him. So hopefully you guys have seen that. If not, I have him right back here in this case. I've kind of learned my lesson not to try and hold things up here for you guys to see. One, this camera's not great, and two, it's just kind of a general pain. But I do have him set aside, and I'll pop him out when we go to the desk cam and show him off there. Other things, I picked up on eBay real cheap a bunch of zombies, the GW zombies, and they came in last week sometime. I managed to get like 10 of them primed up over the course of the week, so nothing like major there, just kind of a little something. that is going to be going into my my undead army fairly quickly. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to be painting them yet. I'm still trying to work out the skin tone. I feel like I want to use them as an experiment to get better at skin. Specifically, you know, like obviously undead skin, but I'm going to try a few different like skin tones and a few different methods of painting them. Hopefully to showcase, like, you know, different levels of decay, you know, and age of zombie as a result. But we'll see. We'll see. A little dog tail cameo there. So yeah, so that's kind of one of my upcoming plans, is to work on them. And I've found that like a lot of the projects I've been working on, I tend to gravitate towards horde armies. That's no surprise. Like, I love, you know, seeing just like a huge mass of guys on the table. I find it super satisfying. That being said, the zombies are definitely like a horde unit. I've already got like 50 of them that I picked up on the cheap on eBay. So, but that being said, I'm not a huge fan, and I know I've said it on the stream before, I'm not a huge fan of batch painting and just trying to do, like, you know, a whole ton of them all at once. And so because I want to use this as a chance to experiment with skin tones and stuff like that and flesh tones, I think I'm going to take my time. And I think I'm going to just kind of pepper them in here and there. The first 10, I'm probably going to try and get those done in like a reasonable time frame, let's say. I don't want to rush them because I do actually like the models and I want them to look nice. But like, they will be playing a role in my upcoming narrative campaign. So I do need to get them done for that. So as a result, those will probably be my next project after I finish these Squigs, which is tonight's project, by the way. Some of you may remember from last week, I did one on the stream. I have 7 more here that need to get finished, and then I have the 2 Squig herders. I don't know that I'll get to the herders tonight. Probably not, but my goal is to at least get the Squigs themselves like largely complete. Anyway, back to what I was getting at originally is these zombies. I'm going to be, like I said, kind of taking my time and just do like one here, one there, a couple here. Use them as kind of like a filler in between other projects and stuff like that. If I find something is getting a little too tedious, I'll switch over and paint a zombie or two just for funsies. They're not something I'm probably ever going to use like in a competitive list, you know, in the event that I do that. So I don't feel like there's a necessity for me to get them done crazy quick, as this Death Army is very much like a passion project for me. I'm going to be kind of taking my time with these guys and just, you know, I want them to look good. I actually saw some work. Can't remember the artist's name. I saw some work on Instagram recently. There was a gentleman who had done a ton of undead stuff, and he had some zombie skin tones that were just amazing. And so I want to try and see if I can deconstruct and then recreate something similar, just because it was really, like, it had this really nice, like, kind of moldy effect. I could tell stippling was used, and stuff like that. So I've been trying to incorporate more stippling anyway in a lot of my techniques. I used it a lot on the White King I did recently, the Necromancer I did before that. So it's sort of in my wheelhouse, I guess. But we're going to go ahead and give that a shot at some point soon, and try a few different techniques until we sort of hopefully nail something down that we like. Let me think here. Did I get anything else done? I did start basing the 3 squigs that I had already painted. The 2 I had previously done, the 1 I did on the last stream. I think that's pretty much it. But, I mean, realistically, for me at least, that's a fair deal. I got 1 hero painted, like, all the way. I got some stuff primed. I got some other stuff started and base coated, so, you know, I got some stuff done. So yeah, and I already kind of talked about what we're working on tonight, so I think with that, we'll just kind of flip on down to the desk and adjust our light here, and we're going to get started. Okay, so before we jump into the project proper, I'll show off the guy that I painted up. So this is the, let's see if I can not cover him up. There we go. This is the giant cave squig and the loon boss riding said giant cave squig that I did over the course of like the last, I don't know, couple of weeks. I'm really, really pleased with how he came out, quite frankly. I enjoy, he was a treat to paint. He's still not technically glued together, like the rider kind of snaps on and snaps off. I don't know that I want to necessarily add the glue. I think I might just leave it because it's like a very strong like press fit for now. And I think I'm just going to kind of keep it as is. But I painted the 2 separately. And then when the two bits were done, I went ahead and kind of put them all together. And I was really pleased with the level of contrast between obviously the rider and the squig itself, but like the sort of the thing I was worried about as I was painting the rider specifically was he's got the red on his hood, as all of my goblins do. And then the little moon icon on the very tail end here is in that green that I used on the other goblins. I was looking at him and realized that those were the only visible locations of those colors on this model. And I was hoping that it wasn't going to be super like heavy and obnoxious. But then once I put it all together, I realized that I really liked the flow of the red up on this extreme end and then the red on the tongue, which were very similar. And those kind of balanced out for me enough. And then the sort of blue-green on the mushroom caps is similar to the blue-green up here. And again, like it brings the color throughout the model, which I hadn't necessarily thought about that leading up to it. I'll admit it. But once it was done, I sort of looked at it and was happy with how it all came together. Okay, so that's enough of that. Squigs. This is the project for today. We got, like I said, 7 of these guys. They all have like interiors of the mouth. You can see the tongue and whatever that uvula or whatever that thing's called in the back of the throat there. But that's already been painted. Obviously, I did like a base coat of the flesh, which means these guys, in theory, will paint up relatively quick tonight because the base coats have all been laid down on all these. So there's only one in particular that's going to be a little bit tricky, and that's this guy right here, because as you can see when you put his head on, he's in the process of actually eating a goblin. So I'm going to have to go in and paint the legs, and before I stick his face on, paint the face of the goblin on the inside, so that when you pop the head on, it's actually, you know, sort of readable. But that shouldn't be too bad. It's just a couple of like loose areas of goblin skin tone I have to do. Realistically, there's not a ton of him showing, so it should be pretty straightforward. But yeah, that's the only one that's going to really take any like extra time. So I painted the inside of the mouths to a point I was relatively happy with. It was just a couple of coats of like a red wash over this flesh coat. if I had thought about it and had the time before I went live, I probably would have glued the faces onto most of these guys just to get this stage done and over with. But I did not think about it. So I think I'm just going to tack them on real quick, hopefully. Otherwise, we might have to rethink this little project for the day. Come on. There we go. All right, so we've got our trusty plastic glue here. Now, the plastic glue is one of those things that like will melt right through the paint, but since I'm applying it to places that you're not going to see, it doesn't super matter. I say as I get some on his leg accidentally. But wiping it off quickly kind of alleviates any issue there. But yeah, so then we're just going to squeeze. And these guys, their faces have like a pretty decent like slip fit. Like they're not going to stay on permanently, and there was a couple of them that just kind of slipped right off. But for the most part, they did a pretty decent job of sort of staying. I had them actually, before painting them, I had like a lot of their faces just kind of blue tacked on with some blue poster tack just to kind of keep them in one place so I didn't lose the bits in case they actually accidentally fell off. But yeah, so we're just doing a little dot of glue on either side of the mouth, one on the top, and just got a little slot down here. We'll put a little dab in there, and I'll slide that face right on. I'll snap the bases off. So the zombie models that I picked up, I'll grab a couple of them. Where's a couple of my favorites? I really like this guy, and I really like... Is he? This guy was pretty cool. These came to me pre-built, and some of them, like this guy right here, leaning up against this thing, like I loved the pose on this. I don't know how well that's coming across. It's all just kind of black prime right now, so some of the details not quite super visible, but if the light catches it right, you can see some of it. But I just thought this was like a super cool, like shuffling, shambling zombie pose. Like I just really liked the way that the guy put the pieces together on that one. Similar with like this guy right here, like, you know, he's got his little mouth gaping wide open. He's reaching out with his hand, like just very evocative. And that was like my first batch of 10 came from a lot of 30 that I picked up on YouTube. And not YouTube, sorry, on picked them up on eBay for pretty cheap. And I think I picked up 30 for a little bit less than the cost of 20, which is usually they come in a box of 20. So I felt pretty good about that. But anyway, what was I saying? They came on square bases from Fantasy Battles. They were some older models, and so I had to pop them off of their square bases and get them set up on rounds. And bit of a problem there. Some of these have a little bit more detail on the inside that I didn't quite see or realize would be visible, so I'll have to find a way to hit those areas. Might have to just get a weasel in there with a weird brush, but these two I'm going to leave off because this one's got the little goblin, and then this one's got like an interior tongue and a bunch of drool going on, so I'll just deal with that later on. Okay, so jumping right in on these guys. We've got my little painting handle. We need that. We're going to need a dry brush, and this is the one I was using on the other ones. So we'll just kind of stick to using the same tools, I suppose. And let's see. We need his love flesh. This is the color that we are applying next. So I hope everybody had a good week. You know, it was relatively stress-free, and I know it's generally a stressful time these days, so sometimes having a stress-free week is hard to come by, but hopefully it was on the lighter end of stress for you. Alright, so we're just going to pop him on here. And start dry brushing. We're just going to use kind of like clockwise and counterclockwise circular motions, kind of a mix of the two, just to get as much coverage as we can without getting into like the super deep recesses. We do want to make sure that those are still that base color, as it gives us the depth and the shadow that we need to kind of make these guys look interesting and see all the fun detail from, you know, a little bit of a ways away. You're not always going to be like right on top of these guys viewing them, so nice to get a little contrast from range. There's a little face here. Gonna get under his chinny chin. They did an interesting job with these sculpts. Sure, I'm keeping him in frame here. They did an interesting job with these sculpts. Each one is just a little bit different. Like they've got slightly different faces. This one you can see he's got like almost like an anglerfish thing going on his head. He's got a couple of little mushrooms growing off on the side here. Even his teeth are very reminiscent of like an anglerfish. You have, I think it's this guy right here. He reminds me of a bulldog. Like he's just got that big upper lip that's coming up and over, that underbite. And I don't know, they're just all super characterful, and I enjoy the sculpts quite a bit. Another kind of reason for the circular motions and the light amount of paint on the brush is it gives you a slightly less, I think, slightly less powdery finish. Sometimes dry brushing can leave a nice powdery finish. Whereas doing it this way with a makeup brush, you get like a finer deposit of paint, so it can lead to like a better blend sort of all together, which is what we're going for here. So, all right, next. And I know at the top of the show I said I don't like batch painting, and these are sort of, this is very much batch painting. This is not my favorite way to go about painting a model. I do like, you know, sort of lavishing attention on one model at a time. I feel like that's my preference, but at the same time I've been trying to get a ton of stuff done just kind of in a hurry so that I can start doing battle reports, and so the two of those are sort of very at odds with one another. So I have been batch painting as a result lately, just to try and get all this stuff ready for the tabletop, which it will be, but it also means that like later on I'm going to have to go back to a lot of it and, you know, like give it all some extra love after the fact, which often I would rather just kind of one and done a model, you know, paint it once and then not have to paint it again. Unless it's something like, you know, a horde army where you're going to be painting like a bunch of the same type of model, which that's fine, because like with these things and with the goblins, like there's enough little character in the models themselves that even though you're painting like 60 goblins, you know, like it doesn't necessarily feel like it, and they go pretty quick, so, you know, super notice, I guess. I don't know. Not entirely sure that makes any sense, but. I almost wish I'd gone back and reprimed these guys. I had primed them white initially because I thought I was going to be painting them in a slightly different technique. I thought I was going to be doing like a almost like a zenithal thing and then using inks and washes. But I didn't like the way that the washes were looking. I didn't like the colors it was producing. It wasn't, you know, quite punchy enough for me. So I ended up doing it this way and then actually quite liking the results. So, but because this is a very aggressive technique for painting, even though I'm trying to be somewhat gentle here, I can see where it's rubbing off on some of the high points, rubbing off some of the paint, at least taking it down to primer, which was white. And but because it's also on the high points, if I go back over kind of gently, then this kind of will cover it back up again. But it makes me somewhat nervous that it will not quite have the end result that I'm looking for sometimes. I had to change up airbrush primers I was using at one point too, because the initial one I picked up and was using, I found that especially with like, you know, heavy dry brushing, it was the primer itself was rubbing off, which is not a feature you want in a primer. So I ordered a different brand and gave that a shot and had slightly better results with that. So. We are currently painting the bulldog one I was showing earlier. There's a couple in here that have that sort of bulldog aesthetic. They just remind me of cute little bulldogs. English bulldogs, I believe. Not those little Frenchies. Alright, this guy's almost done, and I'm kind of in frame here still. Alright, let's go. Actually kind of funny because this is a makeup brush and this paint is very flesh tone, and it's my wife is very into makeup, and it's just reminding me of like foundation or something. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Probably. That or concealer. But I'm pretty sure it's the foundation. Anyway. There. Just about done. One of these guys, I don't remember which. I think it's this one with the drool. No. Which one is it? Oh, is it this one, the French Bulldog one? That's not him either. One of these guys I thought was like a cyclops. He just had like one little beady eye in the middle of his head. But I don't see him right now, so maybe I was wrong. Alright. So these other two are going to take a little bit of extra TLC, so we're just going to kind of leave those. We'll come back to those. Where's my other flesh color? Kind of defeats the purpose of batch painting a little bit, but I want to get the rest of these guys like done-ish. All right. Now, some of you may remember from last time when I was explaining this, but basically this particular coat of dry brush, I am specifically getting like the very top of the body, and I'm getting the sides in just like a downward sort of flick, and we're trying to sort of loosely replicate light in this case. Just kind of catching on the uppermost flat area of the body, being along the sort of the top of his spine, and then getting you know, any of the sort of like upward facing areas. If I flicked the brush back up the model, then it would catch the underside of things as well, which we don't, which kind of defeats that purpose. They have a little bit of that highlight on them already from the previous coat, which would sort of be like a reflected highlight from like, you know, light bouncing up off the ground, but that's not going to be as strong as like the direct light sort of highlight on the thing's back. So that's why we want that to be a little bit brighter. Love how quickly these squigs come together. Like, it's nice. I might actually get to some of the... I was saying earlier, I didn't think I'd actually get to the herders, but it's possible that I will. Which is kind of cool, because as soon as this... those two herders and then these squigs themselves are part of a unit, and once this unit is done, this is the last of what I want to get painted for these guys for the narrative campaign, at least initially. I have some other stuff in this box that I'll be getting painted up, you know, sort of down the line to sort of add in for them. But the main thing for me was getting these bits done, so that I could have them for the campaign. Right. Perfect. Okay, so those 5 are done. We're gonna go ahead and rinse our brush now, because I'm going to be switching over to work on these 2 to get them to a point where I can actually glue the heads on and dry brush them, to get them caught up to where these guys are. So in the meantime, I can let this dry brush dry back out again, and so it won't be problematic. A bit more coffee. All right. Dry off this brush a little bit. All right. So we'll let that sit until I need it later. And keep that on hand. Let's see. So we are going to first work on the little jewel face guy, and we're just going to kind of jam that into some blue tack. Just use this brush for now. I'm going to pop into the wet palette here, stir up some of the paint that I was using. So this base coat, again, as I mentioned in the last stream, but we'll refresh folks' memories. This is the Bugman's Glow, and it's a color, you know, honestly, I never really used much of it. While I have painted a number of models that all used some sort of like Caucasian flesh tone, they all tended to be like super pale flesh tones, and this is just a lot sort of richer a color, like a more tan flesh. It's just a lot richer than what I was going for, even as like a base coat that would be covered up. And so it always got skipped for me. But recently I've been digging it out, specifically since I started doing, oddly enough, the all the undead stuff. You'd think like undead stuff is going to be like sort of inherently pale, so why would I go for it? But the Squigs aren't actually undead; they're alive. They're just pale, but I find that this color is dark enough that I don't like. Normally, I would use like some kind of like a flesh wash to like give a little red into the recesses, but I feel like this does an ample job doing that. And so, yeah, I don't know. Just something I never thought I was going to use a ton, and then I find myself now, like, you know, sort of gravitating more towards it. But apparently on these, I never painted the inside of the face, which, while it's not a huge deal, it does bother me a little bit because their mouths are wide open. Like, from certain angles, you can see all, like, on the inside. And so I want to do my best to make sure that it's along the same lines of color. And that's on this guy here. That's what I sort of screwed up, was on the inside. And this brush is too big to reach it, so I'm going to try this brush. I'm going to try another brush coming in from like a weird angle to try and get the inside of his mouth. Specifically, it's like the gums on the bottom jaw here. I got like the mouth and the bottom of the gums on the body, but not on the head. So it goes from like that sort of stained red color to a very stark white. And it's super noticeable and not what I want. So I'm going in with this, you know, sort of base coat that I used for everything else and just giving it a quick coat. So it'll ease that transition a little bit. And then I think it's good. I'll probably go, I have to use the red wash around the mouths and to get like the gums and all that stuff. So when I do that step, I'll make sure I get like the inside there as well. But that step comes after all of the dry brushing. So we've got to get everything to that stage first. Then we'll worry about that. Hello, Mandy. Welcome to the stream. No, they are definitely not dead squigs. They are alive and kicking. It's super creepy. I hope you are doing well, Mandy. I hope you had yourself a pretty good week. So this first base coat is dry. We're gonna grab some more of that paint, go back in and just give it another coat, reinforce the color, make sure we've got coverage where we need it. Mandy, I don't know if she mentioned it to you at all, but I know you guys tend to talk often. But Sarah, I messaged her, it might have been Tuesday when you guys were getting ready to sit down for D&D. But I messaged her to keep me updated on her LARPing schedule because I would love to go and try out LARPing sometime. Specifically LARPing as Einar, my D&D character. So I think that would be a ton of fun. You think I would do well at LARP? Yeah, probably. I don't know. I like to think so. It definitely seems like fun. Let's put it that way. I don't know. I tried it once. I don't know if you heard my LARPing story or not, but I tried LARPing once. It didn't go well for me. But I went to the wrong kind of LARP. I didn't realize there was more than one kind. I wanted to go and like role play a character and maybe do a little bit of combat, but like I really wanted to get into like, I don't know, the character side of things. And the LARP I went to, that particular weekend was just like a straight combat weekend where there was no RPing like at all, and I had never done LARP combat before, so it was just kind of like thrown into the deep end. Nobody explained anything, nobody told me, and it was just like a bunch of nerds yelling math at me while they hit me with swords, and I was just like, all right, this sucks. So I never went back. It put a bad taste in my mouth for LARPing for a little bit. But I feel like the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't know, that could be fun. Obviously not something I could do with any regularity, but, you know, if it was like a yearly thing, that would be kind of cool. I could go for that. Anyway, so I think, yeah, we're good. All right, so I'm going to grab this red wash, Carolberg Crimson, and this I've learned from my previous mistake, if only just. I'm going to, with this, get the inside of the tongue and the inside of the mouth, cheeks, jowls, whatever you want to call them. I'm just going to hit those, stain those, and get those pushing in the right direction. We're going to get his tongue at the same time so there's no weird lines. All right. We can do the same on this one. And then we're going to start down on this this end. While that dries, we're going to catch across their gums. And the side of their little jowly areas here. Once again, this is, see how like the side corner of the lip kind of like, there we go, side corner of the lip kind of hangs down. So we want to get like the inside of the lip. We want to get along the gums and the teeth. And then I'll put a little tiny point on this, and we're just going to jab some into the eye sockets. Leaving the nose. I want to get the inside of the mouth here too. Looks like I missed it on this guy too. One of those little things I just did not take into consideration. All right. So there's one. Okay, there's two. Almost feels like I'm applying clown makeup to these guys. All right. Eyes. His eyes are like hidden behind his teeth. The guy probably can't see too well. All right, they can smell your fear. This guy too, his little beady little eyes are hidden behind his teeth. It's kind of hard to get to with this. It's alright. Kind of stipple and jab it in there. Doesn't have to be exact, it's just kind of blend it all in. This guy's missing a bunch of teeth. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what his story is. He looks like he's seen some shit. Well, this was the one I missed the inside of the mouth on. All right. Those are done to that step. Close that, rinse the brush, and on to the next step, which is going back to these two and trying to get them caught up. So what am I going to do with my arrows? This guy, we can go ahead and glue his head on. This guy, however, he's going to take a wee bit more work. Okay, so this is where I have to remember how I painted my goblins. And I, fortunately, remember pretty okay. Wait a second. We want to wait on the legs, because we're going to dry brush the crap out of his face. Don't want to paint it and then dry brush over it and have to repaint. However, I think the face inside the mouth is going to be protected enough from dry brushing. I hope. Otherwise, this is all for naught. So let's take the face off, put the body on. I'm going to start painting this guy up. And I'm probably going to end up painting more than is going to end up actually being visible. But I'd rather paint more than not enough. That is the fear. I want to glue this guy's head on and then all of a sudden realize that there's a ton of them I didn't paint. We're just going to make sure we do a good job, right, guys? I really wish I'd gotten a glass of water. Have that coffee. Drank that coffee. Now I'm still very thirsty because coffee is not exactly a thirst-quenching beverage. I usually have a big old glass of water sitting next to me when I do this. But I was kind of in a rush. Alright. Can't tell if that's supposed to be... Can't tell what that's supposed to be. There's like around his face, the thing that's sculpted into it. I don't know if it's supposed to be like his robe. I don't know. We'll see. You guys won't be able to see this, but I'm just going to check real quick. The box art for this thing. Let's see if I can tell from that. Oh, it is his robe. Oh, I see. Huh. Well, okay. Good to know. Oh, and there's this little hand prying that jaw open. It's so funny. It just wonderfully illustrates that these things don't really care. They're just ravenous eating machines. They will eat indiscriminately. They don't care if you are the thing that has fed it in the past. You are in the way. You are now food. True predators. There. We're just putting some black on in those spots where the robe is supposed to be. Hopefully it will translate well enough. It's one of those things that, like, probably only notice if you pick up the model and, like, look at it. But it's still one of my favorite little details. God, I'm so bad at this. Oh, that's why. I bumped my camera at some point, so it's like not. Sorry for the motion sickness. Oh, that's better. I was like, I know this is the spot where, like, it's in frame, but it wasn't in frame. And that's because the frame was in the wrong place because I whacked the camera somehow. Good job, Wes. Good job. So Mandy, would you ever LARP Querulous? I think that would be an entertaining thing. I would love to do a little bit of LARPing of our D&D characters sometime. I feel like that would be fun. Maybe like Halloween or something like that. Dress up as our D&D characters for Halloween. Maybe not this year, but I don't know. We'll see what's going on for Halloween this year. Oh, so some weird, interesting news that I just remembered. This is, for me, on the work front. One will affect the stream in a positive way. The other one hopefully won't affect the stream at all. But starting next week, I'll be starting work a half hour earlier than I am now. So currently I'm starting at 6 a.m. I'm going to be starting at 5:30 a.m. I used to start at 5 a.m. and then that got bumped to 5:30 when the pandemic started. And then the further the pandemic went, they pushed it back again like a couple weeks later. Just because business was down. But business is picking up again. So they're like, okay, well, you guys can start coming in a little bit earlier again. Also, my company is paying out a bonus to most of the employees that were actually like there through the pandemic, you know, every day, having to wear like PPE while we were working in a, 90 to 100 degree warehouse, just sweating constantly. They gave it some pretentious name like the hero bonus or something like that, which I was like, I just kind of rolled my eyes and was like, really, guys, come on. But anyway, the bonus is such that I should be able to afford all of the bits and pieces I need to like get my computer fixed and upgraded, which is huge. I'm super excited because that's something that I've been needing to do for a while, and especially now that I'm streaming, having a computer that will just spontaneously crash every so often, and sometimes it won't do it at all. Sometimes it'll do it just like once and knock the stream out once. Sometimes I've had it crash as many as like 3 times in one stream. So, knock on wood. Hopefully that's not the case tonight. So far, so good. But, it is certainly something that has happened. And I hope that it will not happen for much longer, because it is incredibly frustrating. Okay, I need to wash his skin with this dark brown wash. And this we're going to actually just throw some on the palette, just so I can control the amount that's there and dilute it ever so slightly. The way that this model, too, it goes together, I think is funny. The legs, hands, and nose of the goblin, the parts that stick out of the mouth, are attached to the face of the squig, and then everything else that's in the mouth, so like the rest of his face and what little bit of his like robe you can actually see, all of that is attached directly to the Squig's body. And I just find that incredibly amusing. Because, like, if you look, I don't know if it'll show up or not, but right here, dangling between the teeth, that's the nose of the goblin that's inside his mouth. And it's just real funny to me. I don't know. Maybe it shouldn't be, but it is. All right, so we did that step. Next, we need our friend, the Dark Red Caraberg Crimson Wash. Roughly the same thing. But this is going to be going into his eyes. Sort of on the cheeks and generally in the eye area, just to redden. And along the lower lip. Putting that little bit of red in the face, on the lips, and I'll be getting the nose too with a slightly different shade of red. But using the red in the face brings a little bit of life. So even though I'm doing a very pale skin tone, it lets the human eye know that there's blood coursing through his face, and it's like, so he's alive. So even though he looks less than alive, he is, even if only just. He's being chomped on by a squig, so probably not for long either. With a disturbing amount of glee. So you would very happily LARP as your D&D character Querulous. That would be fantastic. Like I said, I think getting the crew together for some kind of a LARP would be I don't know, hilarity would ensue. That would be a good time. Alright, so we gotta let those washes dry. Maybe we'll move on to the... What are we gonna move on to? I want to fiddle with these. So for the record, the herders, you've got this guy here with the cymbals, who basically just like runs along behind the squigs, smashing the cymbals together to get them to move in one direction, which again is hilarious. There's an alternate version of this that you can build that he has a set of bagpipes instead. So at some point I'll be getting another set of these. This is not anywhere near priority for me, so I'm in no rush to do so, but eventually I will, and then that way I can have the bagpipes version as well. And then this guy here, he's a little bit more armored. He's got a actual metal helmet and like a little armored carapace on his punched little back here, because he's got like a squig prod. So he can just kind of poke and herd the squigs that way. But because he's getting up close and personal, he's got to wear a little bit of armor, because otherwise they chomp at him. And this one also has an alternate sculpt, which I am in love with. And I thought I could do this version and the other version, because I didn't actually read the instructions. So I built this guy first because I thought he was cool looking. And then I realized that the other one was just an alternate build of him. But basically, instead of the little squig prod, it's a stick with a little rope and a mushroom attached to the end of it. So he's like holding that out in front of the squigs, getting them to chase the little mushroom for food. Like carrot on a stick, you know, that old joke. I think that's hilarious because I am a dork. Let's see. Well, where are we with these squigs? We need, it's dry enough to work on. Okay. So I need this here. Do I have any that's actually usable on this palette? I need another little dot. And this is just to add some highlights. It's darker than I want. Let's thin that out a little bit more. Alright. We just slapped some little highlights on his face using pallid witch flesh. I think that's really all I'm going to do there. We need, for the eyes, skip that song. It's literally called Box Fan Medium Speed, and that song was just somebody put a microphone in front of a huge box fan. And that was super annoying, so we're going to move on to something slightly less annoying. Boy, oh boy. That was an experience. Reminded me of something I probably would have listened to in my 20s. Probably would have thought it was super profound, too. Alright, so we're going to take this bright yellow. I say bright, it is like a pastel pale yellow. It is a light yellow, not per se a bright. We are very carefully going to dot the eyes. This is easily one of my least favorite things to do. So my hands shake ever so slightly. Trying to combat that shake while doing this. We'll call that good enough. What color do I want to use? This color for now. Just gonna pick out some teeth. Apparently this guy has very good dental hygiene. Since his pearly whites are particularly pearly and white. We'll go in with a little bit of that dark brown wash we were using before. Go right over those teeth. Tint them a little brown. And we'll sink into the recesses. Shade his mouth. Cool. That goblin's face is done. I'm happy with it. Now, do I affix? You can see the little goblin's face in there, just poking out, looking real miserable. Oh, he's having a bad day, guys. He's having a real bad day. Speaking of bad days, this camera does not want to focus properly at all. Where? Anyway, you got the idea. He's in there, I promise. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and glue this face on, just because the goblin's face is done. I don't foresee myself sort of wrecking it in any way when I go to do the squig. Tempted though. Tempted to like shove some blue tack in there, dry brush. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. I really just want to be safe with that face because I like the way that it came out. It looks good. We're going to use just a little bit of blue tack here. I don't need a lot, so we're just going to take a little bit, and that's. I'll take less than that. Now I'm desperately hoping that this does not pull paint off. Do I want to maybe let it sit a little bit longer? I think it's dry. That all looks dry to me. So we're going to pop that blue tack on there. Just felt my phone vibrate in my pocket and just wanted to make sure it wasn't my my wife needing me for something. All right. Well, the good news is that did not peel off any paint. All right. So we're going to cover up that goblin's face. And we're going to squish the squig face on top of it. Put that into place. Sort of held on by the blue tack. That should be secure enough that we can dry brush on what we need to. And it shouldn't, I hope. I don't know, guys. This is going to be... I don't know if I'm putting too much faith in this, but we're going to try it. So let's collectively hold our breaths. Hope for the best. I have faith this will work. Once again, the reason I was doing this way is because I can paint the squig's skin in its sort of entirety. And then once that's done, because the legs and the nose and the hands of that goblin are technically in the forefront, like the foreground, when compared to the squig's skin. And if I paint the goblin and then had attempted this particular technique on top, it would have just completely ruined the paint job on the goblin. So I am making it a point to do the messy bit first, and then we'll go back and do the easier, more controlled bits later. Clean up. That's it. Okay. So that is done. Do this other one here. And this one has a similar little detail in the drool coming out of the corner of his mouth here as his tongue is lolling out of the side of his head. So we're just going to treat it like it's not there and then go back and pick that out later with something. I'm not entirely sure what color to paint drool, being as it's a clear, semi-viscous liquid. But we're going to try. Paint bravely, as I like to say. I did not invent the saying, but I sure like to use it. Okay, so that color is done. Next, we need our flayed one flesh. We shake. I don't know if this paint is always this thin or if this pot is just particularly old, but man, it is real watery. All right. Check. Check. Okay. Rinse the dry brush again. Rinse. Scrub. It's your paper towel. And done. All right. Dry. Okay, what do we need? We need our red. Wash here. Napkin back in here because we're going to need to do some blotting. Let's do drool mouth first. So again, we're jabbing it into the eyes, making sure it sticks. I'm kind of using my fingertip to dab it off the nose so that the sort of highlights that we just dry brushed onto the nose do their job. Yeah. All right. So we want to really make sure we don't have a ton of excess on here because I don't want it to like bleed around or through the glue tack at all and get the the face underneath. So we're sort of applying this gently. Once again, making sure we get it in his eye sockets. Dab it off the nose. All right. It's good to me. Most importantly, I believe we have done a pretty decent job of preserving the face underneath. Now, the moment of truth, we're going to peel gently. I said gently. Come on. There we go. And take the blue tack off the face. This is very much a moment of truth here. The nice thing about blue tack is that it sticks to itself better than it sticks to everything else. So even though like little bits and pieces get stuck behind, you can just kind of keep dabbing it on itself and eventually it'll peel itself off, whatever it's stuck to. All right, his face is intact. Mission accomplished. There we go. Just making sure we get the finish getting all the blue tack out of all the little nooks and crannies here. That's pretty good to me. All right, now we can get our glue back out. And with a couple little dots here. One on the top. One on the bottom. One on each side. And boop, stick that face on there real permanent like. That sit for a bit. Oops. It's making a lot of noises. I'm going to go ahead and turn everything off. Put it on silent. It was on vibrate. I don't know why it was making noises still. Life's great mysteries, I guess. All right, how are we doing on time? It's 10:30. All right, so we may not get these guys all completely finished tonight, which was my hope. But I would argue that we have made some damn fine progress. All right, I super want to do this goblin guy, so we're gonna work on this. All right, we're gonna grab that light yellow, not bright, but light. Need this to dot the Squig's eyes as well. With that dark red shading around it, they just pop right out, just like these piercing little points of light. Little balls of rage inside yet another ball of rage. Oh, you see those little beady eyes staring out at you? And somewhere inside are his little beady eyes. The goblin's eyes are less well dotted. I was definitely shaking a little bit on those. Oh. I'm way off base. Alright, so since all of the skin around the mouth is done, all the dry brushing is done, the wash is applied, the red wash around the mouth, all those steps, now I can finally go ahead and paint the legs and feet of the goblin. So that is what I am doing right now. I'm not sure this is the brush for the job. This is a little smaller. Smaller than what I need. I don't want to ruin the nice tip on that brush trying to use it as a base coating brush. I'll use this one instead. A little bit bigger. Fine enough for what I needed. The right tool for the job, as it were. All right, there's one. Now, I believe that this was also the same color I have used on all of the Squig's teeth. So while I'm at this step, I will make sure to go ahead and base coat all of the Squig teeth as well. Yes. Now we need to get the hands. He's got like one hand on the lower jaw and one hand on the upper jaw, and he's just attempting to pry the two open so that he can escape. For the record, guys, he's gonna make it. I think his days are numbered. I don't like to be pessimistic. I don't think he's looking good. Don't get me wrong, I'm pulling for him. Really like to see him succeed. I'm just saying I don't think it's going to be the case. That's all. When you're already this far into a creature's mouth, getting out again, it's a tricky affair. All right. So now we are going to make sure that we get all of the teeth. Some smaller teeth here, so we're going to get a smaller brush. That's the one thing that the goblin has going for him. If I'm being fair, is he chose to get eaten. Oh, I gotta get the nose. I was forgetting something. He chose to get eaten by the squig in the unit with the smallest teeth. So if ever there was a silver lining, I think that might be it. Although thinking about it, I'm not sure if that's... I don't know if that's technically a good thing or not. Like, they say it's always better to get cut by a sharp knife than a dull knife. It'll hurt less and cause less damage. Because it's, you know, cutting and not tearing. So, if you're going to get chomped to death, would you rather get chomped to death by something with tiny little teeth or something with great big teeth that will probably do the job faster? It's like the whole merciful death thing, you know? I know this took a little morbid turn. Then again, I'm painting goblins from the realm of death, so, you know, morbid was never really in short supply, I suppose. Hello and welcome to my channel. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Wes, and I am Morbid AF. Might as well get used to it. All right. Teeth are base coated. Legs are base coated. The nose is base coated. Now it's time to wash them. And for that, I'm going to be switching back to my friend Agrax Earthshade, as that is what I have used on all the rest thus far. We're going to, on the teeth, we want to make sure that it settles in near the gum line for some good contrast and definition. It's also going to do a good job, like, staining the teeth. We want it a little bit thinner and more evenly applied on the skin of the goblin. We don't want it pooling, really. We just want it to kind of tint and emphasize those shadows ever so slightly. We don't want to go too deep on those. Nose and the upper teeth. And I just got hit with some major sleepy blurry eyes. Had to blink that away real quick. They came in real strong. I was like, I can't see what I'm doing. All right. Good coverage on the teeth. Good coverage on the skin. Looks good to me, guys. Here's a little preview of what we've got going on here. And the nice thing, too, is that it's a different, while it's still a pale skin tone, it's a different, like, color. You know, this is a lot pinkier and more like, I don't know, Caucasian flesh tone, whereas this is like, has a little more gray to it. I'm no color scientist, so I don't really know, but I'm happy with it. I like it. I like where it's going. All right, we need some more of this on our palette. That much I know, because what I have is not in good shape. So, a wee little scoop. Because this is our highlight color. We don't need a ton of it, because we're just highlighting. We're going to get a nice little thin version of it, wipe off the excess, and we're going to come along and just trace some highlights onto those teeth. Get the nose. His little fingers. Balls of his feet there, and his heel. Ankle bone. All right, so we've got skin on the goblin. We need to maybe just do a little bit on hands, put on the shins there, the calves. All right. I likey. Me likey. Me likey. Some more highlights onto these teeth. All right. Cool. I think he's highlighted. Or at least the goblin's feet and legs are highlighted. Huh? Look at that. He's really in there now. I like it. Okay, don't need the teeny tiny brush for a little bit. We are going to grab our dark gray. Apparently I need to put more of on my palette, or at least I need to add some more water and kind of reinvigorate, because it is been there for several days now, and it is starting to not be usable anymore. Grab some more. That is not in good shape. That is Eshin Gray. That on the palette. Bloop. Oh. Tell you what, I know I've mentioned it before. I'm going to mention it again because it is currently something I'm dealing with. This chair is not comfortable. No siree babo. The funny thing, not like haha funny, but funny thing about it is that I have only been sitting in this chair for just about as long as I've been streaming. So, an hour and 48 minutes. And my keister is already real unhappy. And yet, I know for a fact that I have sat in this very chair longer on other occasions, and it has hurt less. So, I wonder if it's just because I'm tired. Maybe because I was working all day. I don't know what that necessarily has to do with my butt. But, you know, muscles, fatigue. Just saying. Could be linked. Again, I'm no scientist. I leave that to the experts. Of which I admit I am not. Alright, we got this guy's pretty little toenails picked out. Oh, he's got spines. He's got spines down his back. You know what that means? That means we need to pick out those spines in the same color as the toenails. He needs to have a little added contrast, and that will look real cool. Pick out his little mohawk of spikes. Alright. Oh, this paint, it's just not flowing. Keep trying to add a little bit more water. It is, for some reason, seems thicker than usual. Driving me crazy, guys. Cool. Alright, these little spikes are now gray. His toenails are gray. His face is done. The goblin is done. We need to switch to a slightly finer brush. These grays salvageable? That's good. We're gonna pick out the tips. Of the gray here. Okay. Back the other direction. Yes. There we go. There's a little three-dimensionality. Which shows the growth as well in the horns and nails here. More paint. It's just tired. Should have added some more. But we're getting close to the end here, and I'm just trying to get this one done. If I can get one finished, I will feel pretty good about that. Oh, there we go. That's what it needed. It needed like a full brush of it. Just to snap this gray back to life a little bit. This is the brightest of the three, and this is just for the very tips. So. Tips of those claws. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. Okay. Oof. Looking good, guys. Looking good. Me likey. Alright. Doing gray to come back a little bit here too while we're at it. This is our, what will essentially be our base coat for the mushrooms. Which on this guy, looks like he's just got one little tiny mushroom down at his feet. So we're just going to come in and coat that real quick. Make sure we get the stem. Right. Now, while that's doing its thing. Ah, hello, Lori. Welcome to the show. Hope you are well. Grab a little bit of this color here. Slap that on mushroom cap. Don't be real shy about it. Get it on there nice. thick and even. Boom. The mushroom that is done. What's this? That was a wash. Whatever it is or was, it is a little crusty. So I'm gonna grab our, what was I using? Grinding folio? I think it was the folio. Thin it out a smidge, and this is going onto the stem. Just enough to, I mean, it's so small, there's really no definition to be had. But, doing something with it at least. Well. Alright. Folks, this guy is done. It is 11 o'clock. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. I'm going to get my brushes stowed away. This guy's done. Take a look. We got the goblin trapped in his mouth, kicking and trying to get out. We got some highlights. We got some shadows. We got some contrast. We got that little mushroom. The only thing left to do is apply the texture to the base and black out the rim, and then he's done. We'll add him to the ranks. The remaining, what do we got? 6. The remaining 6, realistically, it's just picking out the eyes, picking out the teeth, any mushrooms, and his nails. So it's just all the little details. And I mean, you saw how quick that went on just that one. We were able to knock him out pretty quick. And I'm basically going to be going through maybe tomorrow, I think, tomorrow night, and just trying to clear through the rest of these guys. So that's the plan. So here we go. We're going to get this lamp out of the way. So with that, pop our lid on our palette for the night. Call it a night. I want to thank everybody for coming and hanging out and watching, joining me for a couple hours while we work on some stuff and generally keep each other company. I, as always, have been your host, Wes. Staghammer Studio thanks you for joining us. Feel free to please follow me on social media. So I've got my Instagram and Twitter, which is just at Wes Odinson for both of those. So that's WESODINSON. And head on over as well to my YouTube channel, which is also Wes Odinson. So it's just youtube.com/users/WESODINSON, Wes Odinson. And there you can find my catalog of back streams, so all the VODs of my previous streams. I think this is number 18 now, so there's quite a few. Each one is 2 hours long, so think of all the me you can have. And then very soon, I'm hoping, within, I would say, probably the next month. So let's see. Technically, fall starts September, 21st? Something like that is the first day of fall, usually. So I have until then to start filming battle reports. I told myself that I wanted to get it done by the end of the summer, and I am cutting it close. But yeah. I think that's it, guys. Again, thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And I guess we'll see you next week. Next week is... let me check the calendar real quick just to make sure that next week isn't the one that I'm changing up the schedule for. No. No, next week is the 21st. As far as I know, there is no reason that I should be changing things up. So it should be Friday next week. It is the 28th is the week that I will be streaming on Thursday instead of Friday. The VOD will still be going up on YouTube on Friday. So there you go. If anything changes, just look to my Instagram and Twitter and Facebook for updates. So, all right. Thanks again. Until next time, take care of yourselves and goodbye.